Hello and welcome to Night Clerk Radio. This is episode 127. New music for May of 2025, the year of our Lord, vaporwave. And we have two new albums out that are both very interesting and very much on the comfort anxiety scale.
Once again,
yeah,
this happened like 2 episodes ago where we were like, we picked like stylistic polar opposites of albums.
Although both use a lot of Plunderphonics. So
that is true. And they both have various degrees of glitch.
Yeah.
Just, overstating their differences. I was just going to say, because the last time we did this, we had the same thing where I picked a very comfortable album. You picked a very anxiety album. Right? Which I think, leads to the question, are you okay?
I don't know. For some reason this year, I've been feeling a little more anxiety.
Yeah, feel a little odd this year. That's weird.
Something in the air, maybe.
The science is yet to figure it out.
Yeah. But maybe this is just not my way of processing it. I did have a garage. I sold some things at a garage sale, selling things from your childhood and broken toys and all that stuff. The anxiety.
Yeah, that's probably it. The problem is probably too much clutter.
Yeah. I need probably
it. There's probably nothing else going on.
Yep, exactly. But there are some things going on, and that's our shout outs.
That's right. We forgot to do them last time because I was so preoccupied with having picked 2 EPs.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that the shout outs were supposed to become a part of these episodes. So they're back.
They're back. I'll go first.
Do it.
First one is a horror video game called Look Outside. It is a retro RPG. It is actually made with RPG Maker, so it looks like something that would fit on a Super Nintendo or similar game system. But Look Outside is a very interesting premise for a game, which is you're this guy in an apartment building and you've been told not to look outside. And if you look outside, you either die horribly or you get mutated into some, monstrosity. And so you have to survive for 15 days locked up in this apartment building while some residents have looked outside and they are pretty mean. And you have to go out and get food and supplies. But
so it's like a really extreme Rear Window, I guess.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's anti-rear window because you can't look out the window. It's bad.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Everyone else has it.
Flipping it on its head.
But it's got really cool monster designs and pixel art for it. Really interesting storytelling. Like, just to give a little spoiler of one of the earlier encounters, you go in this apartment looking for supplies, and all the family have been mutated, and they all have the same theme of like teeth, like their teeth are growing out and taking over their bodies. And you find this kid who's playing with his toys as he's slowly turning into a tooth Shoggoth, monster. But if you choose the right dialogue options and play along with him, he gives you a hug and gives you a rare item before he finally just, goes into this trance or coma. And you can know, and it's, poignant and sad is this kid is just still a kid, but he's turning into a monster for reasons he doesn't understand. And so there's a really good storytelling in there, and there's an easy mode. So if you're not like a try-hard masochist video game player, you can just go through and enjoy the story. It's pretty neat.
All right. So first up, I have an article that was written by Liam Murphy of Listen Corp. We did a couple episodes ago. We did a feature on them, and this is an article they wrote about 33 1/3's book on the classic vaporwave album Eyeliners By Now. Great album. I'm excited to get the book. I pre-ordered the book kind of based on the article. I think it's a really nice write-up of like vaporwave history and doing vaporwave history. I think I'm just excited for the book also because 33 1/3 is pretty significant in terms of like writing about music. And it's cool to see them doing like a whole book, even if it's on the shorter side, like a whole book about one vaporwave album. And it just goes into like all like the history and influences and everything of how you got there. That's kind of like exactly what I'm into. So it's extremely my jam.
I have been eyeing that book too. I'm very tempted to get it. I think this has pushed me over the edge, and I will be getting the ebook of it at least.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do an episode on it after we both read it. So
maybe.
It looks very cool. So yeah, that's very cool shout out. My second shout out will be a little shorter. It's called Vapor Memphis. It's a vapor, trap vapor, funk mix, funk vaporwave tape. And so it's like this short 20-minute, one of our new patrons posted about it. And it's just really good, like vapor funk, It's just good music. So, and it's a nice little mixtape. Yeah.
Awesome. I also have an album for my second shout out. I just found out about it like yesterday or something, but I thought it was really, really fascinating and wanted to pass it along, which is the album Nova Chord Experiments by Heinbach, who's a German electronic music composer. Mm-hmm. And this is him playing around basically with the Hammond Nova Chord, which was like the Hammond, an early attempt at doing a synthesizer from 1939. And it's amazing. Like, it's amazing how good and modern it sounds. And I don't know if a lot of that's his production, coming in on the modern side of things, or how much of it's like raw out of the instrument itself. I'm leaning more towards the latter. It's just like, you would not guess it's a, an almost 100-year-old, well, I guess almost 90-year-old synth.
Damn, yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. I saw that. I haven't had time to listen to it. Probably listen to it today. It looks really cool.
Yeah. I just couldn't get over how modern it sounded. Ooh. Like, it's really impressive. I think the person who shared it kind of joked that we've been kind of chasing the sound the whole time, and it was always right there.
Oh, ahead of their time, apparently. So
way.
Yeah. So for my third shout out, it was also something I saw here in our Making Music channel. Moby. You remember Moby, that DJ guy?
I do. I remember Coming Together or something.
Yeah. Well, he's done a solid to the community. He's created this website called mobygratis.com, which is now, we were just talking about stock music and library music.
I was just thinking that. I was like, damn, he could have been on our library music episode we just did for the bonus episode.
He has released hundreds of tracks that are now available for anyone to use. There's only two caveats to this. You cannot use his music if you are promoting right-wing politics or causes or animal products. So that's it. Those are your only limitations. So you can score film with it. You can make YouTube videos with it. And it's high resolution multi-track audio. So
I didn't notice that part.
Yeah. And it's got a lot of search functions. You can search by genre, you can search by instrument, you can search by all kinds of variables. And it's one of the things my only frustration with it is there's so much out there, like finding the kind of music I would want. It will take time. But I mean, I guess that's a good problem to have, right? Like there's such a wealth of tracks on there.
That's interesting. I guess he I guess Moby at this point probably just has like fuck you money.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, all those commercials.
But at the same time, I'm like, is he seeing Kevin MacLeod cashing checks? He's like, I could do that.
I mean, it's all freely available, so I guess you can get if you like Moby Gratis and feel the need to pay it forward, please consider donating to charity. So he's not making any money on this. So yeah.
Okay.
Unless it's a charitable thing, but yeah, I don't think so.
Well, good for him. That's cool then.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to our third shout out. Last one, but certainly not least. I want to shout out a very specific episode of Neon Nights. So Neon Nights is Lux Elite's internet radio show. It's like every other Tuesday, roughly, on YouTube. The last one, as of the time of recording, was the Friends and Family episode, which instead of being a track list that she curates, anybody who's been featured on the show or who just in that circle of artists submit tracks and put it together, does visuals to it, and makes like a really, really incredible, basically URL show in some sense, where she does all the visuals, and it's great. It's like 2 hours. It's over 2 hours of music featuring like new or like some are like unreleased and lost tracks from a whole bunch of people, all kinds of genres represented. Really just like a really fun show. So definitely check that out and then subscribe to that YouTube channel and show up for other shows because they're pretty much always a good listening experience.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I'll have to listen to that too. I've not really dived into Neon Nights yet, but this is a good excuse to get started, I guess.
I think it's a good introduction to artists too. I mean, it's the same function as like, what do you like about like a compilation or a mixtape? It's just, somebody sharing a bunch of stuff they like, and that somebody has a lot of historical genre knowledge. There's just a lot of artists featured that you may or may not have heard of.
Sick.
Yeah.
So now I guess we have some new albums to review. So let's dive into that.
That's right.
Beyond the haze, on the western side the maze, I sung alone in love. Swept beyond the hazes, on the western side and base, I decide
And that was a bit from track 2, Calling Out Your Name, off our first album, Ces Nuits Glamour, or Those Glamorous Nights, or perhaps These Glamorous Nights. I've gotten competing translation results, so I don't know if it's a native speaker distinction. I'm just going to call it probably Glamorous Nights for short. It is our comfort album of the comfort anxiety duality that we mentioned earlier from celadonDREAM Suite. This is his sophomore album after Neo Audition, which we actually discussed a track from way back when on the 2023 Vaporwave Up and Comers album, that big compilation. Celadon came up as like an interesting point of discussion because the track that was chosen for that compilation was like more of like a breakcore experiment. It was like a Vapor Breaks experiment. And you were like, oh, I really like Vapor Breaks. I'll go check it out. And I was like, well, the rest of it's more like this, you know?
Yeah.
The other point is that I was shocked this was only the sophomore album because I see them all the time in like compilations, like these Slushwave Social Club compilations or like charity shows or that Friends and Family episode or other events going on. It's wild to me that's only their second album. That was quite surprising. In either case, the album itself is just great. I use this word to describe like a mood, but it's not like a criticism, but like melancholic in a sense.
Yeah.
That Vaporwave, that's that late night classic Vaporwave of like, I'm sitting and thinking, and sometimes I'm thinking about stuff where my brain gets caught in loops. And that's like your glitchy, loopy Echo Jams tracks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And like sometimes, like to me anyway, and sometimes you're just thinking for a long time about lots of different stuff. And those are your more flowing tracks that are more like, I call them complete's the wrong word because they're all complete tracks, but they feel more like the structure is very different from something that's just like loopy jams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very dreamy album. Like you said, a lot of that classic Vaporwave feel, especially with the pitch shifted R&B vocals that are present on a lot of tracks. Most of the tracks, or maybe even all of them. But there's this sense of longing and sadness through it. It's, remembering those passionate nights, those glamorous nights, perhaps, that have passed by. But yeah, there is that glitchiness and Echo Jams element to it, or maybe even like signal wave with kind of the looping of one fragment of a sample. It's definitely a album about, comforted by your memories of previous glories. There are some really good music videos for this that celadonDREAM Suite has put together. I really like, I forgot which one it was, the one with the ballet dancing. I'll Be Quiet. So that track, yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's a very... I really do like the classic Vaporwave sound.
Yep.
And by classic, I mean like the first couple of years, the early 2010s sound of Vaporwave. And it's nice to know that there's still new albums being produced with this kind of sound. Not that I don't like the newer types of Vaporwave either, but it's like, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because, we call it classic Vaporwave. That's become a term alongside like late night lo-fi or late night Vaporwave. And it's interesting because it is only something like, I don't even know if I go back to 2010, like 2015-ish is like the peak of that. So it's not even that old. Yeah. It's just interesting that it's these little micro genres, I guess, evolve so quickly. Because while it does have that classic Vaporwave sound, a lot of what we think about like those pitch shifted, warbly, deepened, slowed down vocals. Everything else about the production, I'll talk about the individual tracks in a second, but everything else about the production is like much more modern feeling to me. And I think that some of Celadon's work, also, this is one that was mastered by Fire Tools.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it's just like so crisp and shimmering, but also has like all these little lo-fi little bits or like weird delay. It just feels like a very modern album, even though we call it like classic Vaporwave.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it comes down to, is that it's like referencing some past, even like a fairly recent one, but still embraces like a lot of modern production. Like every track, what stood out to me is, if we don't go through every track in detail, every track has like so much to listen to.
Oh, yeah.
There's like so much to keep track of, and all these little elements coming in and out. Like even in the first one, one of those nights, there's like this immediate like glitchy looping, like Echo Jams vocals.
Yeah, the stuttering.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so much else that comes in there. There's like all these like string pieces. There's like little bits of guitar. There's all this like shimmering like chimes and auxiliary percussion.
Shimmering is a great way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll Be Quiet, the track you mentioned, like in the music video for, is really cool because it has like this like acoustic classical guitar opening. And there's all this delay, it feels like. I don't know if that's quite the right production term, but there's like just tons of like just dripping in delay. I feel like if you really listen, you can hear like the fingers like hitting off the strings and like that being caught in the delay instead of like gated out, which is like really haunting on top of the horn and piano that comes in later. Just stuff like that.
Yeah. No.
And all that layering. I would love to like know the production of how much of that is like samples. Like, is it like 40 songs? Is it stuff they're doing originally on top of like less samples? Because it doesn't feel as like chopped and screwed. It doesn't feel like taking one thing, and maybe they are, and they're just really good at hiding it.
Yeah.
And chopping up one thing into like 40 parts. I don't know. It's really great to listen to.
Yeah, it's a very lush album. Like you said, it has all this texture to it, as this, but it's not a soundscape. It's there is a sense of movement through the album. But yeah, it's very breathy, very airy. Well, not airy, but again, it has this kind of. It's not quite slush wave, but like it has elements of it. It's really like you said. I think it's really good for like late night, sort of more meditative listening. But there are a lot of real interesting instruments that are sampled in here. Like I think like either finger cymbals or castanets or something. Like it's a very like on track 7, My Memories Won't Fade. It sounded like that, but like even the more regular instruments that are used, like there's a lot of really interesting use of timing of like slowing down. Yeah. That almost bringing things to a complete halt. Again, it really emphasizes the dreaminess of this album. This is really like, this may not even be like late night. This may be literally someone's dreams or hallucinations of a past that never existed. Very good.
Yeah, My Memories Won't Fade track you mentioned, I loved. I thought that was like one of the ones that felt like the most kind of like that longing melancholy, which is interesting because you can still be in like a really good place currently, but still have like things you think about from your past.
Yeah.
Or like thinking about maybe like stuff you overcame, or like maybe it's better to think about like old stuff and you're like, oh, I'm in a much better place now. It can still be like kind of a melancholy thing. Another track I really liked was A New Low, which I love that kind of like opening drum and bass and like synth rhythms. Really, I think a great example of that luscious production you were talking about.
Oh, yeah. It's more upbeat, than most of the tracks.
Yeah. It stands out in that regard. And then also, this is sprinkled throughout the album, but I think it's a really good example of like the more tasteful glitching, which is maybe tasteful in comparison to your album, which we'll get to, which is like way more aggressive in its glitching.
Yeah.
A New Love also had like a great snare, whatever that snare, either sample or production, that's engineered in post or something. It sounds awesome. One other track I want to talk about, just do one other quick sample, mix it up a little bit from my notes. I'm going to do, actually inspired by your comment about messing with time, I'm going to do a little bit from the end of track 9, The Room Grows Darker. And this really emphasizes what you're talking about. Like throughout this whole track, really starting towards the beginning, it takes the whole track for it to happen. There's just like this warbly slowing of like, oh, my cassette is like dying as it runs.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like it starts early. It's like slow. And you start to be like, oh, they're doing like a little slowing cassette. And then it gets like more drawn out and more drawn out. And like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Am I dying? Like, what is happening? And that decay and fade.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because then it leads into the last 2 tracks, especially track 10, I've Got to Get Out, which I thought like kind of shed some of that melancholiness. Like, I don't know why they were like more hopeful. And I don't know if that's just the contrast of coming out of that previous track, or if there's something specific in kind of the choice of like these big, broad, like synth chords. There's like a little bit of glitching. It just didn't feel as sad to me anymore. And then even if I Lost You is interesting because it's like a big, long, it's like 6.5 minutes, this big, long outro track. That's like this great ending because it kind of builds up and then all the pieces kind of pull away in the last minute until you're left with like just this like looping voice and everything else is out from it. And then you like cut on the half breath. Yeah, just a really interesting way to like end your album.
Yeah. The ending of The Room Grows Darker, I mean, I was reminded of that Chipmunk Sludge album. Like it is like, it's so sludgy and just like disintegrating. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. But yeah, it's like track 10, the I've Got to Get Out. Yeah, it got that really nice bright synth opening. It's very upbeat. And then, yeah, really interesting layering of the vocals on there. Yeah, no, it's a really good way to end the album. Like I said, there is a sort of a journey through this album, and it's there is variation. There's a nice little trip.
It's like a night of memories or something. Like however you want to think about it. But you got to have some movement through the album, which it does. It's like so important to keeping some of these vaporwave albums kind of fresh. On listening is some sense of storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think it nails.
Yeah, exactly.
Hard recommend.
Yeah.
Big, strong recommend. Go check it out.
That was a sample from track 3, Sleeping with the Fishes, from Captain Market's Nuclear Winter by ZIAD. And there's an exclamation point after ZIAD. And so we have come to the anxiety album of this episode.
That's right.
Yeah, this is like vaporwave glitch hop. This is an extremely and also heavily Plunderphonics approach to this. So this is musical chaos from a producer named ZIAD, who is one half of Kaizo Slumber, which is a glitch hop group. And he's produced numerous albums in this very aggressive kind of like IDM, sort of glitchy, noisy and glitchy music. Again, for me, I was first exposed to this kind of music from Square Pusher. And so this is what I sort of like. Every time listening to music like this, I think back to, I always compare it to Square Pusher because, again, it was, my first. So, but ZIAD's really interesting. He's very prolific aside from Kaizo Slumber. He also does other albums on his own. And this is, according to him on Twitter, he said they said it is a departure from the Kaizo Slumber sound. But if you like my work as Asatanatina and just like noisy, glitchy vaporwave, I think you'll like it. So here we are. It's got a great title, and boy, if you like glitch and noise and chaos, you would love this album.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I didn't recognize the artist at first. I knew Kaizo Slumber, and because they had an album called like How Are You Feeling Today? I believe it was called, if I remember correctly. That was like, they say this sounds different, and I agree because it's that same like aggressive, challenging glitch. Like Kaizo Slumber stuff is like much more like manic breakcore, basically, or like hard step, I guess. I don't know. Whereas this is rooted much more in doing a lot of that glitch on top of more like spacey ambient and vaporwave. So it makes for an interesting combination. It's I didn't really know what to expect. You almost get like baited at first.
Oh, yeah.
Because the first, 15 seconds, it's only like 15 seconds. It's not like they do it for half an album and then hit you with it later. They have like these opening like sparkly synths, and then it's just like glitch. And I think I said by track 2, I felt like I left my cassette too close to the elephant's foot. And then it just kind of continues to get like aggressive from there to track 3, Sleeping with the Fishes, where there's like this interplay between bubbling and static, like letting them fade back and forth and in and out of each other.
I described it in my notes as the sound of a chemist's panic attack.
Okay.
Because of all the bubbling.
Okay, why is this bubbling?
Yeah,
What's happening?
Yeah, exactly. The lab's about to blow up. So
yeah. Which, they can hear in your sample, of course. Mm-hmm. And then the middle, I was curious about, like, I don't know, I didn't want to read too much into like the weird little glitchy album, but the next 2 tracks are kind of interesting because they're called like Tian Shan 2007, which that's a mountain range. I'd have to look at what 2007 is a reference to. And then 5 is You Backpacker Piece of Shit. So I had like in my head, like, I guess also because we watched that Brian Blessed thing the other night. Last night, really, as the time of recording, he was asking like random people about Yetis. I was like, is a radioactive Yeti killing backpackers in like Kyrgyzstan or something?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine if they are. Go for it.
Yeah.
Live your truth or something.
The titles for these tracks are very, I'm guessing, are very obscure in jokes or references. Track 4 for me was like, this is like a spa ambient track that got scratched up in the CD player on a half broken CD player anyway. So yeah, it's, spa ambient music that gets noisy and glitchy. And then we have that brief samples of a pleasant track on track 5, and then it's back to the square pusher chaos. And and then we get into 6, which is Golf is a Dumbass Sport, which again, great time.
Which is like manic, chaotic, glitch nature wave.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, because our nature sounds, sped up, tranquil synth music and some glitches thrown in. It's lurching around, and it just, it gets so... But then we get into track 7, No More Crud Money, and why don't we listen to a bit of it? Yeah, this is like the sound of a dying Game Boy. Like, it's just...
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you just have these gentle chiming sounds and build up with this really, glitching music. And yeah, it's... Okay, to be fair, when I was listening to this album the first time, my partner Maddie came home and was like, no, what are you listening to? It's giving Maddie practically an anxiety attack just listening to this. So like, well, I have to review this now for the sake of it had such an intense effect on someone. So if you're looking...
And like immediately.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this album is great, especially if you're stuck in a rut, you want to listen to something new. This is not... I haven't seen much vaporwave really get into the glitch, like noise kind of, or IDM sort of styles. So
I'm sure it's out there.
Obviously it is, because we have this, but like, yeah, it's not something I'm experienced with. So, and there's such a variety too, like track 8, The Wedding Cake. We have this really corny tune at the beginning, and then it just turns into this glorious noise symphony. I mean, it's hard to describe at times because so much is going on and it's so erratic.
Yeah, so you were working through tracks, and the next one up, Wedding Cake, is like, in a weird way, probably one of my favorites, because it starts up with like this like toy keyboard.
Yeah.
Like little processional almost, Wedding Cake, of course, makes sense. And it's just like this. To me, it was like a really, really strong mix of like the right amount of like structure and glitch and drone and everything else. It felt like the best example to me of everything I thought the album was doing, of like this mix of like corny processional along with like drone and glitch.
Yeah.
and like drifting in and out of having structure and stuff. I think it really, really, really worked for me.
Yeah, it's definitely a highlight of the album. I mean, there's such a variety, even though no track sounds exactly the same, or even I mean, like in terms of, yes, there's a lot of glitching and noise and chaos, but like it's different it does it differently in each way. Like we have like a vocal quote in track 9, these really crunchy crowd sounds, and then like gentle string music towards the end. And I really like the outro, how they end this album, track 10, which is Don't Lag Behind. There's all these abrupt shifts from samples and to distorted samples. And then as we get towards the end of the track, it sort of settles down into this slowing down, glitching music. And we have a little Mario sample, and it just like, it sounds like the machine is dying, right? Like it's just going into dark and slow noise, you know, which is fun. And this album's only like 33 minutes long. It's a brief journey, but man, it is a hell of a ride.
The last track, especially with all the shifts you were talking about, like, again, it's immediate in the first couple of seconds where it opens with like this children's jingle. It's either like an advertising jingle or like from an instructional VHS or something. Can't quite make out what they're saying. It's like always play with something. And then it's just immediate. It's like this little jingle, and then 10 seconds in, it's just like, yeah, just insta decay.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, no, it is. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I want to check out more ZIAD's work. And like, I have not even listened to Slumber that much, or at all, actually. So yeah, I need to check them out too.
Yeah, Kaizo is great. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We had a lot of fun listening to and finding these new albums. But next episode, we're back in the Sanctuary mines, looking through, we yearn for the Sanctuary. So we'll be looking through the rest of the sets and listening to them and having some notes on them. And don't forget, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/nightclerkradio. We have a bonus episode every month. You've listened to one of ours earlier, and I'll put out another one from the archives this month. But, we produce a new episode every month, and it's only for patrons. We also have a really great Discord community where we're sharing links, and that's where most of our shout outs come from. And yeah, we are on Blue Sky, and we have a website. Don't forget to rate and review us on your podcasting app of choice. Tell your friends, tell your frenemies, tell anybody who might get a panic attack from listening to, Glitch Hopped. Or don't, maybe not.
But they, judge how they're feeling, and you recommend either Celadon.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Or ZIAD, depending on their mood.
Yeah. If I'd been listening to those glamorous nights when Maddie came in, it would have been a very different reaction. So, but thank you all so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.